Welcome to Rising to the Top Lessons in Leadership, brought to you by Columbia University. This is the podcast where we interview senior industry leaders who share the secrets of their success and reveal pivotal moments that impacted their career path. Come listen as they shed light on obstacles they overcame, as well as wins they achieved.
You have to keep up with what's changing around you. You cannot now work in a silo that this will not impact me. You have to understand the technology to see where either you can utilize it or it can impact you or it can put you, at risk from a business standpoint.
As the Global Managing Director at SVAM International, Kiran Bjujle oversees SVAM's Security Advisory Group, which encompasses various areas such as cybersecurity consulting, proactive risk management, digital identity, cyber defense, response and remediation services, and managed security services. With over 25 years of experience, he is a senior technology risk executive who has helped numerous organizations manage their technology risks and transformation programs. Kiran Bjujle is also a part-time lecturer in the Enterprise Risk Management program at Columbia University's School of Professional Studies. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rising to the Top Lessons in Leadership. Today, we're very fortunate to have with us Kiran Bjujle. Thank you so much for being with us today, Kiran.
Thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure.
As we do with these episodes, we talk about lessons that our leaders have learned. Kiran, I wanted to understand a bit more about your work. So can you tell me about how you became interested in cybersecurity? Where did that come from?
Long story, right? So I'll tell you a bit, going back when I, did my bachelor's and came to US for my master's. And that was the time there was a big change, I would say, starting 98 to probably 2000, early 2000. First thing comes into mind is the Enron, right? What happened with Enron? We all thought, it's a huge global organization, unsinkable, and because of, I would say, underlying lack of controls or lack of sufficient controls and governance, there were vulnerabilities which caused the whole, the ship to come down. And there were other institutions which were the after effect of this. So that told me vulnerabilities exist, right? And that's all about securing the human race, right? It's because of Enron and others, there are a lot of impact to the humans. And then the second one we will never forget is 9/11, right? Other than the direct impact, which was we still think about it, and it's really scary. Is the are the organizations ready? That started my thought about uh, many organizations failed in getting back smoothly on their businesses. So business continuity was a bigger issue. They always thought we have backups, but which were never tested. So business continuity, disaster recovery was a key game changer in the industry. Okay, and that also had a human impact. So combination of these two and others, right, kept me thinking about it's all about securing human lives, right? It's all about securing organizations. And when we talk about organizations, yes, it's business, but the bottom line is it impacts business. And in that journey, going from controls to security to information security to cyber security, it kind of evolved, right? Where I started was more during the SOX era, right? Sarbanes-Oxley, which was new at that time. Now we all know what SOX is. And the other piece is in early 2000, you saw a lot of digital transformation. Talk about Amazon, Salesforce, Netflix, right? That changed our lives. And then came Apple, right? With iPods and iPhones and so on. So, the more technology evolved, it was for the betterment of humans, but on the other side, if it failed, it impacts humans. So that's kind of, my focus on security started.
And what was your entry into working in cybersecurity?
It was more of end user security, who get what kind of access. And then, that was a SOX era. So I was part of that, SOX hiring, if you will.
And you mentioned that technology has really been changing. Technology is something that's constantly evolving, going back to the 2000s and before that. As someone who works in an area that relies on technology, how do you keep up to date with the changes?
That's a topic in itself, right? Technology is ever evolving, and now with Gen AI, the velocity has increased. There are three things I would say. I join technology forums. I do virtual webinars, attend virtual webinars. I also go to conferences. So that's one thing. You have to keep up with what's changing around you. You cannot now work in a silo that this will not impact me. You have to understand the technology to see where either you can utilize it, or it can impact you, or it can put you, at risk from a business standpoint, right? If I say, hey, I've done my master's, I've done whatever I've learned, and it's not time for me to learn again, then probably you'll be out of job very soon. Okay, so continuous learning is very important. The second piece is, talk to mentors, right? Have mentors, have peers, and they are not necessarily should be in your own field, but I would say in another industry. We talk about climate change and so on, right? So it doesn't have to be technology related. It can be something unrelated, because you can get the outside in perspective on where the is industry is going, where the world is going, where what global organizations are thinking about. So that's something I think would really help, and it helps me as well. And the third part is about testing it yourself. Don't be shy of testing new technology. I'm not saying you should be the first mover, but sign up for pilots, right? Sign up for free trials.
So, Kiran, I think it would be helpful to provide some context for our audience as far as the work that you do. So, you mentioned you're a professor. You're a professor at Columbia University in the Enterprise Risk Management program. And then you also have what we would call your day job. Can you talk briefly about those two things and how they're connected?
I'm a lecturer at, in Columbia University Enterprise Risk Management. I teach technology risk management. I teach strategic communication for risk professionals, and one off I teach operational risk management. And it's really very rewarding. And I keep saying, those going to campus and teaching, this bright group of students is really exciting and rewarding. A couple of things come into mind. What I learn in the industry, I can bring it back to the classroom, right? So those case studies, those stories really help teaching and understanding. I keep telling my students, you don't need to memorize everything. Everything should be in form of stories, right? We all as humans, you know, uh, generally remember something which we like in terms of stories, right? If you go to movie, you still remember some movie you watched when you were a kid, right? Because the story is something you can resonate with. So create your own stories which resonate with yourself. So that's something is very rewarding. Uh, my day job, right? It's I've been in consulting for almost 25 years, and the reason I like consulting, probably it's good with my persona. I like to meet people. I like to have those conversations. I like to, help organizations. That means help people get to where they want to be, right? In terms of projects, technology, security, and so on. So if you look at cybersecurity, I do consulting in cybersecurity. I, cybersecurity is huge. I cannot say, I know everything. And in technology, you never know everything. Someone knows something, right? And you have to connect the dots. You have to bring the right people in the table. And that's why, this statement has always helped me. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Okay. And that is why this entire, socialization, having mentors, having peers, right, discussing different scenarios, different experience in different industries really helps. So my job is to help organizations with, their cybersecurity program. My job is to help implement those programs. My job is to help advise them on new technologies, what the risks are, okay, tie those business risks into how it impacts the organization. Um, and most of us think in a similar way that, hey, if I get a tool or technology, right, it will solve half my problems. No, that's really not true. You need to think about what is the risk, right? Sometimes you can, identify processes, you can make the processes efficient, and that's enough as a solution. You don't need a sophisticated technology. So it's about people, process, technology, and binding them together with a layer of risk management or governance, if you will. That's my day job in short.
Kiran, I know that when we talked previously, you mentioned that you faced some challenges and some successes as an international candidate looking for opportunities as far as your job search. And you said that there were some things that you learned that you were happy to share with our international students.
Yep, yep, absolutely. And that's the story I tell my students as well. Being an international student, first of all, new culture, new people, new way of communication, you know, uh, people who come from Asia, Southeast Asia, sometimes come across as shy, right? Because of the culture of respect and so on. So that's one boundary, I had to cross is to practice communication. Okay. Practice if I need to be in an interview, I used to practice day in, day out. Okay, what will I say? And the most tough question was, tell me about you, right? And I had a script which, I wasn't experienced at that time, but now I know what mistakes, what could I have done better. Uh, Being said that, uh, one of the issues I faced from a job search standpoint is, of course, at that time, there were not a lot of job search engines, and LinkedIn was not that matured, and so on. But I had one resume, one template, and I used to think, oh, that resume will give me a job. So that was a wrong notion for me. Of course, resume is important, but networking connections, right? I used to, limited. I used to talk to people, talk to professors, and they used to help me with whatever they can. Um, so that was a big hurdle for me. Then I changed my, a little bit of strategy, I would say. I said, okay, I'm not applying everywhere. Okay, I'll pick industry, I'll pick which region, right? I'll pick what role, what skill set, and the timeline, right? So these five things kind of, I said, okay, now let me focus on, sorting these opportunities and then apply to these opportunities. And that gave me a good, I would say, insight into if there is an interview, what can I say? Because I need to talk about the industry, I need to talk about the company, I need to relate how my learning can help the organization grow, right? What I bring to the table. So that really helped me. And the second one which helped me is I failed. Okay. I applied for a summer internship in the first year. There was no email or anything. Hey, we want to schedule a call. They and that time I had a landline. I was home. It was afternoon. They called me. I picked up the phone and they said, "Hey, you applied for this interview. When can we talk? Are you available now?" And I said, "Yes, of course I'm available." I was excited. The emotions are going through my body. Emotions like excitement, panic, nervousness, right? All at the same time. And really, I wasn't in a state of mind of answering interview questions because I wasn't ready. Uh, and I didn't, on that call itself, I knew I was not selected. I would give an example. They said, you know, if you don't know anything, you would have answered that I will Google it, right? So it was self-learning. That's what they were looking for. So it was not about the technical issues. You know, it was about the self-learning. That experience really counted, and I used it as a positive thing because that told me I could have deflected that question or answered that question in a different way, saying, "Yes, I'm available. Can we schedule a call so I can be at a place where I can talk openly and freely?" So I could have got down that path. But because of lack of experience or because of lack of mindfulness, probably I missed that chance. But because of that failure, I quickly changed, the way I approach these calls. So one of the advice for the students is fail quickly, fail fast. Okay, because failure is not something, don't think that's a negative thing because that will teach you things. Okay, but you have to have it quickly. So try different things, but fail quickly, fail fast.
We try and share some lessons in leadership from our speakers. And so I was wondering if you could talk about something that you've learned along the way as a manager. Is there something that surprised you in being a manager? Maybe
Right.
something that was unexpected.
Yeah. One thing comes into mind which I never thought about when I was doing my undergrad or master's is I didn't know humans are so complex. Uh, and then I started, researching a little bit and found out that human is nothing but a factory of chemicals. Okay, we produce so much chemicals, right? Whatever we eat can be digested by those chemicals. So think about, the how many chemicals we have in our system, and that's when I learned about that is the chemical composition and chemical reaction which is happening inside, right? Comes in terms of communication or your reaction to certain things. Okay, it can be anger, emotional. It can be being sad, right? And that changes the person on a daily basis. Okay, and that's why it's very complex to manage people. Okay, now if you start with a clean slate without any perceived notion of certain person, part of the team, trying to help them, trying to understand their persona. I have one persona. No matter what people know, I'll react in certain way. But some situation, I'll completely react in a different way. Those are the exceptions. Work with that persona because you cannot be a 100% match. If you are 100% match, he's same as you, right? You have to be complement to each other, and that's what I've learned. I'm still learning, right, to how to manage teams because every individual can be different depending on what their background is, what their culture is. So I do some research, and I spend some time to understand, this person said something. What does that mean if I was in her or his shoes, right? So I try to spend some time before reacting to certain things. Okay, because My motto is if you are successful, I am successful. Okay. And sometimes things don't work. It's best to, part ways. But a lot of the times, I would say 90-95% of the times I've worked well with teams. Teams have worked well with me. It's not about just managing, downwards, it's managing upwards as well, right? So if you know or find a way how to manage humans, right, you will find a way how to manage teams. And there is no right or wrong. It all depends on situation. I can tell you how I manage teams that can be absolutely different than someone else is managing. It's what works. Okay. And the second piece is, always give constructive feedback. Always, do not pinpoint, small things. Okay. When you pinpoint small things every time, it comes across as in a negative way. Instead, you can ask these questions like, how can we do a better job, right? Get those feedback as well, right? How can I change myself to make us more successful? You will get those feedbacks. People realize things, and that's the learning curve as a team progresses. So, teamwork is not easy, okay, but it is not impossible, okay, and don't try to get to 100%. When you get to 100%, there is no learning anymore.
Can you talk about what self care means to you and your in your life?
Growing up as a kid back in India, yoga and meditation was part and parcel of life, okay, because that was something we did. We went to yoga class, or it was more natural, meditation and so on. But as you know I grew, I said, oh, I don't need it, right? And I got lost in chasing jobs and chasing career. But at some point, I realized, uh, and that happens when some incidents happen, right? I felt sick, and and so on. Then sometimes I realize the most important part for me to keep going is only one thing: breathing. If breathing stops, I'm done. I don't have to worry about after it stops, right? I don't even know what will happen. I don't even care about what happens, because I'm done. That's when I realized that, if I have to make sure I can uh, make justice to my responsibilities, I need to focus on breathing. Okay. And that's where it all started. And it wasn't overnight change. It required a lot of practice, a lot of discipline. And I started, baby steps, right? I said, okay, I'll do, 30-second breathing exercise. And if I feel better, I'll start doing it. So that's how it started. And then I kept reading about, the circadian, clock, if you will, how that energy, talking about physical, mental, and emotional health, right? And the sleep patterns. Okay. So I said, okay, if I need to be active, I need to take care of my sleep, right? So that change I made. And then I read about the 5 a.m. club. Okay. Most successful people are into that 5 a.m. club. That means you wake up at 5, and that's based on science, circadian clock. But I said, okay, probably 5 a.m. is too much for me, or too early for me. So I said, okay, I'll wake up at 5:30. Okay. So you can make those tweaks, but at least you have to get there. And then first thing I go for a walk. Okay. And probably my aim is to run at certain point, start running. But at least I do, 1.5 miles in the morning. And if I'm home in the evening, I'll do 1.5. So at least I walk 3-4 miles a day. Okay. And until I started walking, I didn't realize it's so much peaceful to walk at, 6 a.m. in the morning and watch the sunrise, or it's a different feeling. As a social animal, right? Humans are social animal. They need, see the outside world, right? Now, after COVID, we are working from home. right? If you have to go somewhere, we either take car or local transportation. So I think that that spending time for yourself is something we need to understand. That's the basic necessity of a human being. That's number one. Second, how many of you spend time, um, spend me time? Okay, it's my time. I'll do whatever I need to do, right? Um, for example, we eat meals. Do you eat it for yourself? Do you focus on it, take your own time, or it's just another chore for you? You eat quickly, 5 minutes, I have to rush. I would say spend time, right? Spend time for yourself, because you're all doing this for yourself and your family and your community and so on. You have to give time for yourself. You will be healthy physically, mentally, emotionally, right? And you will see the byproducts will be good byproducts, because now you're healthy, you're active, you like what you're doing. Passion comes when you're active and healthy. Okay. And the third thing I would say, my experience where I changed is, the I think the art of mindfulness, something Columbia University, I think the ERM does every Thursday, some semester. Rajaya Williams, she does it. Amazing. It's 15-30 minutes. If I have time, I go on it. I make a point, I go on it. Uh, it's a different feeling. Okay. And one thing, I learned to do meditation, not that I went to a class, but I said, okay, let me just close my eyes, breathe, and just watch how many thoughts come into my mind. And as you start watching it, they settle down. And that's when I felt peace. Okay, nothing going on in my mind. It's now no chaos, it's settling down. Okay. I think that gives you another perspective, right? Your mind is free, then you can think new ideas. Okay. If your mind is filled with lot of chaos, you cannot think about something else, something new, right? A new idea. So, self-care is very rewarding, not from an not just from an external standpoint, but from inside. If you need to change, it has to change from inside, because inside there is a chemical factory. You need to control that chemical factory.
Thank you for listening to Rising to the Top Lessons in Leadership. For more episodes, subscribe on Spotify, SoundCloud, or Apple Podcasts. To get more information and tips on how you can advance your career, visit Columbia University's Career Design Lab at careerdesignlab.sps.columbia.edu. Please take a moment to fill out our survey to tell us what you think about the podcast. Thank you to Peter Shea for sound editing this episode.